system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people. Sometimes we forget why we're here. It's easy to fall off track. These help us remember.
These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Growing up, I had a dream, something no one else could see. Tell me what it means when your faith is falling beneath your knees and you can't breathe. Everything you see reminds you of what you're not or something you won't be. You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business. Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shame. And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes. This day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I wanna share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is.
Don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
If I had a voice that reached 100 million people, I'd tell them there's a reason that we're all created equal. Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given. Won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater image on the walls of where I'm living, and the words twisted and scripted remind me of something written. Faith is a gift that is given down to the people. If one believes it, one receives it. It's given if it is needed. Don't ever think you're trapped in a life that you never wanted. Your options are infinite, that's some mathematical logic. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers and these battle scars on my church. Not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers, these battle scars on my church.
Don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Well, hello everyone. Oh, and the widget just came up. How are you doing? We are in the middle of the cold spell here. That's why I've got on my head. Probably took 15 sheep to make this sweater. My very heavy wool, like tuna fisherman sweater on. My goodness, it's -3 out. It's -3 out and snowing. It's unreal how cold it got so fast. Like a 40-degree drop between the afternoon and the nighttime. And 4 counties' courts are closed tomorrow due to dangerous chill. So absolutely crazy. So this cannot be a long show because I had to turn the furnace off so that it wasn't making a hum in the background, even though my little heater here still is. And I can't freeze out the whole house because Wayne will be like, no, we've got to have that furnace going. So this will be a relatively short show, but I wanted to, continue plugging along with the history shows. A show that I'm probably not going to do live, but I've promised you guys to do is I wanted to do a nuanced response to Matt Walsh on his whole very authoritarian anti-pornography rant he did the whole other day. And of course it was all very much think of the children, and if you argue against them, You sound like you want to, be exposing children to pornography, which we absolutely do not. But of course, the minute somebody invokes the children, oh, Bunchy has slowed down, JJ. The colds did it to him. That is just so funny. So anyway, I am probably not going to do that live. It's going to take some very careful parsing out because quite obviously I am not pro kiddies watching adult material, but I'm also not pro authoritarian, like let's put all kinds of laws in place. So we're going to deal with that. And hello, D-Jelf, haven't seen you in a while, Doc Sexy, JJ. All right, so let's do the YouTube stuff, and then let's get to the history. If you enjoy this type of content and you can afford it, I would truly, truly appreciate you becoming a patron at patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. That would be a wonderful Christmas present. Also, you can follow me on all my social medias. I'm Karen Ann Harlos at all of them. And woof, I posted a whopper just a little while ago of something our former chair said. Oof, very cringe, very cringe. And last, please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. It does help boost the algorithm. Okay, last time when we were dealing with the history, it said that there was some editorials that I said I would look up for part of what we're doing. And most of them, well, one, like it was cool for the time, but like I'm not going to read it because it's material we're already familiar with. But was it the Ithaca Journal? In an editorial, they basically just put right in the newspaper our entire statement of principles, which is pretty awesome. But we're not going to do Showtime reading the statement of principles. I think we're all pretty familiar with it. But I did find one thing that was super cool. So I want to put that up on the screen here. What newspaper was this from? Crap. I didn't write down what newspaper this is from. I could get that for you, but I'm pretty sure it's from a New York paper. I think it's the Star Post. It used to just be called the Post, if I recall correctly. But let me put up the screenshot here. And here we go. And move that right there over me for a bit, and we're going to go over this. So Jerry Tuchelli, the other guy. So this is from Irv Dean, the City Desk. But let's go over this. This was a really good little press he got here. So it says, meet Jerry Tuchelli, candidate for governor of New York. Never heard of him? That's a predictable reaction. Perhaps the most intriguing aspect of Tuchelli's candidacy is that he knows he has no chance of winning. Oh, and I said Tuchelli, but here it says it's pronounced too chilly. Ooh, he's very chill. He's too chilly. And there's a lot in here that we had gone over before. So I'm just going to pull some things out of here. So it says we're going to the far column over there. He espouses positions that are hard to categorize if you're inclined to see candidates as liberals, conservatives, or something in between. Like conservatives, he says there's too much government, and as a result, taxes are too high. At the same time, however, Tuchelli suggests that victimless crime should be decriminalized. One of his flyers states, now you can tell this is a product of the 70s, okay? Because some of these issues would not be issues today, like criminalizing gay people, but it says one of his flyers states laws against homosexual behavior, pornography, something we had just mentioned, and marijuana violates the rights of New Yorkers. Outdated sex laws and petty restrictive legislation cost taxpayers millions of dollars to enforce. They divert policemen from their primary function, protecting our safety. Tuchelli has said he doesn't think corporations should be permitted to grow to the gigantic proportions of ITT, and he thinks the present education system is non-productive. The 36-year-old Manhattan College graduate sees himself as an alternative to the major party candidates. He calls himself the unpolitician. So I thought that was a pretty cool little column there. Oh, and by the way, if you were watching my show yesterday, I did publish my Substack that I said I was working on. Let me see if I can pull that up. It's up on my Twitter. Oh, pardon me. A little bit of a coughing fit here. Okay, I got my Twitter up, but let me find my profile page. I'm pretty sure I pinned it. I did. So let me pull this up and just give you guys a little peek so you know to go look for it if you're interested in reading this. I thought it came out pretty well. So I'm going to share my screen. And let's take the widget off screen here for a second. So a lot of it is what I'd read to you guys, but I did flesh it out some more. So this Substack's called Neither the Democrats or the Republicans Care About Voter Suppression or Election Integrity. And as you can see, there was part of the monologue I did in the beginning there. Talks about ballot censorship, Georgia, New York, and this, you notice how I labeled this screen image, actual scumbag in the wild. So I do ask you and encourage you, go over to Substack, check out Pink Flame of Liberty, and give it a like and subscription if you like it. I probably produce articles every few weeks when I've got a burr under my saddle. Okay, let's come back. Let me put the widget back up. And actually, the widget's going to be coming right back down, I guess, because we're going to go to the LP News now. Let me find where we left off. Okay, where did we leave off? We did the collapse of the two-party system. We did press response to LP campaigns. Okay. So I think what we are going to cover today is, let's go over to here, and it's the different Bunchy, remember. Let's go to Conspirators Plot, Spread of Human Liberty. Ooh. Oh, and what I've always forgotten, because I'm really not that I'm not that organized of a YouTuber. All super chats matter. Remember, tip your waitress. Okay, Conspirators Plot Spread of Human Liberty. And you could see that little logo the way we used to do it before. And I like that saying they put over it. Civil liberty and economic freedom. That gets right to the point. Okay, I need to get out my magnifying glass because it is such small print. Okay, by William Havender, not sure who that is. Those who discard out of hand the conspiracy theory of political and social change would have been startled had they attended a recent conference this fall in Brussels. For in one room was gathered an explicitly subversive coven. Ooh, that's some spicy phrasing. Subversive coven, eh? Of international bankers, Jews, politicians. That's kind of a weird way to word things. Is he channeling Kanye here? Intellectuals, writers, journalists, anti-establishmentarian students, and a few scientists thoroughly intent upon revolution. Their unifying purpose was to challenge radically the premises of state power. And thank you very much for the super chat, G. Jelf. I truly, truly do appreciate it. They have labored covertly for decades and have achieved, perhaps surprisingly, a not insignificant degree of success. Among them was an astonishing number of names that libertarians have learned to associate more or less consistently with the movement for political liberty. Bob Bleberg, editor of Barron's, Roy Childs, Milton and David Freeman, Ernst van den Haag, F.A. Hayek, W.H. Hutt, Roger Lee McBride, these names, Fritz McClup, Henry Mann, Ed McDowell, a writer for the Wall Street Journal, Donald McLaughlin, chairman of Homestake Mining and former regent of the University of California, James Meigs, author of Money Matters, David Meiselman, Sam Peltzman, Enoch Powell, Ralph Rayco, Leonard Reed, and Leonard Reed, I think, was the founder of FEE, Sam Husbands, Alan Reynolds, George Roshi, President Hillsdale College, Ben Rogue, Murray Rothbard, author, and Barbara Scheinfeld, and George Stigler. I knew probably half of those names. Movement might perish. Says, were a bomb to have dropped on their hotel that week, a major part of their worldwide movement would have surely perished. Yeah, that was one way to take out all the libertarians in one fell swoop. But not to worry, for equally impressive is the list of members of the Mount Parolin Society. Now, if you don't know who they are, I covered them, but we together talked about the Mount Parolin Society extensively in Radicals for Capitalism, which is patron-only content on my Patreon, where we went chapter by chapter through Radicals for Capitalism. And the Mount Parolin Society really factored large in early libertarian history in this country. I just finished, speaking of patron-only content, I just finished recording another chapter right before this show of the problem of political authority, and we'll be getting that up on Patreon tonight or tomorrow. Okay. Who did not happen to attend, which includes Armin Alchin, Martin Anderson, Peter Bauer, author of Descent on Development, Robert Bork, Professor Yale Law, currently Solicitor General of the U.S., Carl Brandt, Glenn Campbell, Director of the Hoover Institution, Ronald Coast, Harold Dempst, some of these names I know I'm mangling, Aaron Director is his name, last name Director, Ludwig Erhard, Gottfried Habeler, Henry Hazlitt, Israel Kirzner, Paul McCracken, Mary Bennett Peterson, William Peterson, Karl Popper, Henry Regnery, Jacques Ruff, Helmut Schlock, author of Emby, Hans Seinboltz, and B.R. in Suda Shenoy. And among deceased members can be tallied F.A. Harper, Bruno Leone, Ludwig von Mises, and Wilhelm Röpke. Thus, virtually all of those prominently opposed to centralized and social control of government are either members of this organization or have cordial relations with it. For instance, Irving Kristol, editor of The Public Interest and former editor of Commentary, whilst not a member, gave the keynote address at the 23rd anniversary of the Society, and Keith Joseph, a leading Tory intellectual and politician in England, and Ronald Reagan both pay considered attention to Milton Friedman. But I guess freedom works, right? Predictable exception. A lamentable but predictable exception, however, is Ayn Rand and her close associates, none of whom belong to the Mount Parolin Society. And again, that was covered so extensively in Radicals for Capitalism. But her intellectual influence there is nonetheless considerable, to judge from the frequency with which her works came up in discussion. The inspiring thing is how influential many of these persons actually are. Friedrich Hayek, for instance, far from being a forgotten and frustrated old fogey, shares this year's Nobel Prize in Economics with Gunnar Myrdal. One could hardly wait to hear the acceptance speeches of these articulate and distinguished foes. Pointed comments at 20 paces? ? And Dave Davis says, so it's cold where you're at as well, Dave. It's chilly willy here. But for once, I am super warm down here, because I'm telling you, this really is like a Great Lakes, wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, like seaman sweater. I mean, where anyone knows where the love of God goes. Okay. All right, let's continue. Indeed, in a masochistic seizure, I love it, Last month, the New York Times featured an essay by Hayek on its op-ed page. And if the Times thinks him both newsy and fit enough to print, then of course you know it must be so. Then manifold contributions. The manifold contributions of Bleiberg, Brandt, Buckley, Director, Friedman, Leone, McCracken, von Mises, Popper, Rothbard, Regnery, Roof, Stigler, et al. Need, of course, no elaboration by me. No minor theorists nor petty publicists, these. The conference itself lasted a week. It was strenuous, with sessions in the mornings, afternoons, and evenings, opening and closing banquets, common lunches, and an excursion to the Flemish medieval city of Bruges, where dinner was served to the fanfare of trumpets in the medieval city hall. Now that sounds like fun and historic. All right. David Friedman's sense of authenticity. Oh, he's a member of the Society of Creative Anachronism. You guys are going to laugh. I don't know if many of you know SCA, which is the Society for Creative Anachronism. I was really into costuming before I got involved in the LP, back when I had a life in a sewing room that wasn't filled with LP crap, as it is right now. Did a lot of sewing and made some costumes. And I almost joined the Society for Creative Anachronism. And if I had done that, I never would have gotten involved in politics. I would probably be sewing medieval costumes, going to way too many run fairs, and potentially running for the court of one of the kingdoms in the United States. The Society for Creative Anachronism is a lot of fun. Okay, and in the presence, in the salad of tomatoes, an import from the New World not then discovered. But despite these unarguably egregious errors, the rest of us did manage to survive the meal. Impressive gathering. It was an impressive gathering of intellectual sources and resources from which to drink deeply of reviving waters. A number of thoughtful, indeed masterly talks were given, abounding in ideas and forcefully stated opinions. Amongst them, I got like a stray hair that's just like tickling my face, were Arthur Scheinfeld's address as president of the Society on the English Disease, which was a careful and pessimistic analysis of the present political and economic situation in Britain, an astute exposition by Enoch Powell of his reasons for opposing British entry into the common market, Ernst van den Haag's lucid discussion of the reasons why the market economy is losing out politically, a strategic proposal by Sam Peltzman for minimizing the effects of government regulation of business, Barbara Scheinfeld's deadly indictment of state involvement in higher education, Hoot's I think there's supposed to be exoriation, but it says ensoriation. Is ensoriation a word? Where is it at? Encoriation. I think that was supposed to be excoriation. I got to look that up. Is ensoriation a word? I don't think that's a word. I think that's a misspelling. Ensoriation. Yeah, they meant excoriation. I always find all the typos. Freaking autistic about that. Okay. Let's see. Of coercion by labor unions, Alan Walters and Chiki Nishim, I can't pronounce that name. Dissection of recent monetary policy in England and Japan, respectively, showing that current price inflation in these countries, too, is due to nothing else than excessive money creation. Essays by Alan Stockman, David Kelly, a champion of objectivism, and Roger Michener on the moral justification of capitalism, and many more. Woo, that sounds like a week I would have enjoyed. And then the informal discussions. Perhaps the most essential and stimulating discussions went on between and after formal sessions. Here was the opportunity over what? Were Uskaba and Plunk? I'm learning new words. Well, that one was a misspelling, but how do you spell that? This seems like it's like some kind of like popular phrase, but I've never heard it. Uxkaba. What does that mean? Whiskey. And am I pronouncing it right? Usquaba is whiskey. Has anyone ever heard that word before? I haven't. And then it says Usquaba and plunk. What the hell is plunk? So whiskey and let's see what plunk is. Wine. Usquaba and plunk. If you want to be very fancy and say whiskey and wine in words that no one will know what you're talking about, say Usquaba and plunk. What the actual hell? Usquaba and plunk. I'm never going to remember that. I keep thinking of Hepzibah from the House of the Seven Gables. Okay, Usquaba and plunk. To meet, okay, whatever. I'm so hung up on that. To meet informally some of the most astonishing minds of this or any other age, to develop friendships and alliances, to observe directly from the rich diversity of professions and nationalities there represented the fantastic power and appeal of the ideas of classical liberalism and of its modern avatar, libertarianism, and to plot their... This guy is just regurgitating the frickin' thesaurus. Their political palingenesis. Have you ever heard the word palingenesis? Listen, I like a good vocabulary, but I don't like when this seems very try too hard. When you're doing upskaba and plonk and palingenesis, I think there's a problem. What is palingenesis? The exact reproduction of ancestral characteristics in ontogenesis. What the hell is ontogenesis? Listen, when you got to go from one thing to the other just to figure out what ontogenesis, the development of an individual organism. So they were plotting their political development. Why don't you just say development? What the hell? Palingenesis with ontogenesis? Oh, God. No. Try hard. Not like other girls. Okay. The next time you are pleasingly jolted by that rarity, an intelligent letter to the editor of the New York Times. Oh, God, that reminds me. That reminds me of that insult I did to the last LNC when I was at the Boston meeting. In public comment, I said, far be it from me to accuse this LNC of competence. Or by that infinitely greater rarity, a worthwhile political proposal, California's recent Proposition 1 or the legalization of gold, or by a feasible educational reform that floors you with its promise of enormous improvement over the status quo, Friedman's voucher plan, or by an unbelievable rending of the socialist veil of social justice. Funny, that term was going on in the 70s, and it was exposed as socialism back then, to reveal the dirty little secret, the grasping for power inevitably behind it. Ooh, that's prescient, isn't it? And there's an article about this by Crystal in the fall 1974, The Public Interest. I might need to look that up. Or by a devastatingly critical discussion of the goals and results of the policies of economic development in poor countries, or of urban renewal, then you have probably spotted the invisible hand of Mont Pelerin at its insidious work. Most likely, and I think insidious is a very bad word to use there, insidious kind of has malevolent undertones to it. Most likely you would have indeed encountered, my God, this guy. Check out these words. Of the ideational filiation. What the hell is an ideational filiation? My God, I do not like this author. He is really just, I have a big vocabulary. What is filiation? The manner in which a thing is related to another from which it is derived or descended in some respect. I got that because like filial is like your family responsibility. So that's what I figured. But so what's ideational filiation? So would that be like ideological descendancy? No, he's not being sarcastic there, JJ. I don't think so. If he is, it's what is ideational? I'm sorry, this is just to relating in some form, relating to the formation of ideas or concepts. Okay. The conspiracy of those who gather, maybe he is being sarcastic, but listen, when you got to look up every other word, and I've got a decently good vocabulary. And I didn't. Okay. The conspiracy of those who gather on mountaintops and dream fond dreams of liberty. Okay, well, the conference sounded great. Reading this article was exhausting. So what's that? Now I already forgot. Plonk, I'll remember for wine. That's a cool little word. What was that word for whiskey? Uskaba and plonk. I'll never remember uskaba. I gotta remember hepzibah, so it's uskaba and plonk. But I like plonk. I think I'll incorporate that into my vocabulary. Wayne, I'd like some plonk. And then, well, that sounds filthy. I don't know what I will get if I say, Wayne, I want some plonk.
Boom chicka wow wow.
Might end up with boom chicka wow wow. So, okay. Well, that's okay. I can live with that. Some upskaba and plonk. Baby. Let's do some ideational filiation. Which may result in palingenesis. See, I can make anything filthy. That's my superpower. Making any topic dirty is my superpower. Oh my goodness. Okay, y'all. That is it for this evening. We're going on 40 minutes, and upstairs, I'm sure, is getting very cold as the temperature drops here. Dave Davis, stay warm. I am not sure if I'll be streaming tomorrow. I'm going to decide tomorrow. We have a LPCO bylaws committee meeting, and bylaws committee meetings that I chair just exhaust me. And in this one, because it's the state party one, actually, y'all know Mike. And you know, he and I are both very strong opinioned persons. He has a proposal for which I have some changes that he doesn't agree with. So yeah, we're going to have a nice little debate tomorrow. And Mike is such a worthy opponent that I am sure he is going to wear me out. But no matter what the result of the debate, I am sure the Colorado Party will be the better for it. So yeah, not sure if I will be streaming tomorrow. I think I'm going to be tired. I am super tired right now. We'll try to on Friday, though. Friday would normally be the LNC update, but nothing has really happened. We're just pretty peaceful little bunch. Tonight, I had the Ballot Access Committee, and this was my first Ballot Access Committee meeting, and it was very, very interesting. No decisions have been made yet that I can share with you. It was more of an informal discussion of states that we're working on, what the requirements are, and all of that sort of thing. That committee is chaired by Nana Kanda, otherwise known as Dustin Nanda. So, anyway, that'll be it for this evening. I'm going to go put the furnace on, and I hope you have an awesome night and you enjoyed this little Escobar and Plunk into party history. Bye-bye.
Gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business, not because